Yes, sir. So, Mr. Sharif.
What's good, good
Pleasure,
brother?
pleasure.
Pleasure.
So, introduce yourself. Who are you?
I'm Sharif Fajardo, 2004 Puerto Rican basketball Olympian. I'm a national certified NCSF trainer, national precision nutrition certification as well. Two-time All-Star overseas champion in France, two-time champion in Puerto Rico, '04 in Arecibo, '07 in Santurce, and '05 out in France in the professional Pro A League.
Boom. So, as you can see, our hair guys, quite the experience there, to say the least. What kind of impact has that had on your life? You know, being in basketball and fitness in general. What kind of impact has that had?
It had a grave and huge impact on my life. And instilled a great amount of confidence. Having a certain level of fitness enables you to perform optimally. And playing high-level basketball, I was always looking to perform at my best levels. And so I understood the way to get there was to train the body, doing what was necessary to strengthen the muscle, to build endurance, build strength. And, along my process, I've always was interested in fitness, and so I kind of would read books and magazines, of the newest, latest trending exercises to get strong. Being an athlete, you want to be strong and look strong, and so that was another driving factor in why, fitness was so important for me.
Definitely, I agree, and I can imagine, performing at that level there. So, how did you get into fitness? How did you get the introduction?
Well, I got the introduction. I was an overweight kid. Actually, I was a fat young kid. Always big and like husky, but never like really in shape, and I was just overweight for my age. And I decided when I was about 14, I had this big drop in weight. I lost like 40, 50 pounds, and it was because I decided to really start exercising, eating appropriately, and taking all of the little tips that I learned from a lot of the fitness magazines, and actually applying it in everyday life. And that coupled with high school intramural sports, playing baseball, it gave me the necessary extra exercise to burn calories, and voila, I started losing weight. And once I saw how it was working, I was like, wow, this is the way to actively live and eat right and exercise to maintain a certain body image and performance. And I just continued on with it. I didn't want to go back to being this overweight guy, heavy around the stomach and just uncomfortable almost in my own body. And so, yeah.
Now, hearing you say that there, the maintaining is one thing, but getting started, how could people get into the fitness thing? Let's say they're overweight, like you were, for example. How would you go about doing that? Do you need a coach? Do you need a personal trainer?
You don't necessarily need a coach or person. It's good to have that that's at your resource, but you don't necessarily need it. You have a lot of information out there which can help get you started. More importantly, start moving. There's a local track near your building, or if there's a park, go for a 15 to 20 minute brisk walk. Actually put yourself under a time limit and say, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to walk 1.5 miles to 2 miles. And at the end of that walk or run, you take the time limit. How long did it take you to do? Did you achieve the goal of 15 minutes? Did it take you 17 minutes to do it this week? All right, next week when I do it, I'm going to try to beat 17 minutes. I got to do 16 minutes and 30 seconds. And you continuously, every week, show up to hit this particular challenge and goal for yourself, and you'll see that over time, you're giving yourself the necessary energy expenditure to create caloric deficit, which leads to weight loss.
Yeah, perfectly said. And I agree with you there. Kind of just getting up and getting active.
Start moving, doing the basics. I know a lot of the times that the calisthenics can seem a little bit overwhelming, especially with a lot of the videos that are out there, but all of these advanced technicians that you see, handstand push-ups, front levers. If you're a beginner, that's just like a high school kid or an elementary school kid walking into an NBA arena and saying, go suit up. You've got to go guard Kobe Bryant. He's going to be nervous. He's going to be unsure of what he has to do. So totally, that process is understandable. For beginners, you can definitely get started with the very, very basics: movement, jumping jacks, air squatting, sitting, chair squats, having a chair behind you, and having your butt touch the chair and stand up, 25 times, and you try to do it in 30 seconds. You give yourself a time limit each time, a goal to shoot for. That way you give yourself some positive feedback and something quantifiable to work towards.
Definitely. So having a structured plan now, how important is that to succeeding as an athlete, or not even an athlete, as you progress through your fitness journey?
Now, it's very important to have a structured routine because it lets you know how you're moving along week for week, month for month in your programming process. And, being structured, having, your particular exercises, what are your goals you're working towards? If you're trying to work towards, a tuck planche, hold of, 20 seconds, how do you get there? Well, it's going to take 3 to 4 times a week of particular exercises. So those really structured routines are very important for progress. It gives the body the consistent stress to the body so it can adapt over time. If the body's not receiving stress, we won't release certain hormones which cause adaptation in our body. This forces our muscles to get bigger. This forces our joints and ligaments to get stronger. This forces our muscles to be able to handle more endurance in terms of a lot more repetitions. So these structured workouts are very important in terms of delivering stress to the body on a consistent basis.
That's very. I'm glad you talked about that. And now mentioning the muscle fibers. Can someone get big doing calisthenics?
Yes, you can. The same way heavy lifting with weights is done to gain size. You're lifting 4 reps, 8 reps, 12 reps. The same thing with calisthenics. Sticking with exercises and increasing the difficulty as it goes. So whereas a lot of us may, sometimes the school of thought is to add on more repetitions, this works up to a certain extent. But from there, you want to make the exercise harder, so that way the body is forced to recruit more muscle fiber to perform the exercise or the movement. So an example would be, a harder version of a pull-up. A regular pull-up will be an L-sit pull-up, where the legs are extended and you have to hold this position. This forces you to have more abdominal activation, as well as it forces your center of mass in front of the shoulder, which increases the amount of force and stress required to perform a pull-up. This is how you get stronger at your pull-ups. And then from that, you move on to harder progressions, archer pull-ups and so forth, to gain strength and size.
I agree because that's what I did for myself, doing calisthenics. I'm bigger than I've, ever been. I used to lift weights, but I got to a certain level. I moved over to calisthenics, and now, as you say, doing the more, difficult progression of those, that's what helps you put on that size, because your muscles, adapt to meet the
demands of the workout.
There you go. So now let's talk about more of the diet now. People ask, I have a question here. Someone asks what to eat and when to eat it. I mean, that's kind of a general. It obviously comes down to the goal, but is when you eat as important as what you eat?
They're both. You want to eat well, but yes, nutrient timing is very important, because within an hour, 45 minutes to an hour after you've totally stressed your body out from a workout, you've depleted all of your systems. Your ATP system is gone. Your sugar, your glucose is down. Your carbs are down. Your protein is down. You need to replenish your stores so that way the body recovers for the next subsequent workout. And this happens at a higher percentage within the hour after you've trained. So, having your protein shake right after, or your meal right after, an hour within the hour of the workout, is best for nutrient uptake in the body. Not to say that the body doesn't take up nutrients 2 to 3 hours later, but if 1 hour after the body uptakes 99% of the nutrients, and 3 hours later it uptakes 60%, it behooves you to take it in within the hour so you can get more uptake of the nutrients to help you along your progress.
Definitely. Yep. So I agree with that there. I mean, obviously, it depends on the person at the end of the day and what your goal is. Like me, I'm not too big now, as of now, on nutrient timing, but I do try to meet the window. The window
of a little small window of opportunity to maximize the opportunity.
Yeah, and I've done the just eating randomly and doing the nutrient timing, doing the optimum time to eat, and I have seen decent results in both. It's not too far off, but the results you can see it. So I like that answer there, being balanced. So we have a question here, and it says their friend worked out 6 days a week for 2 months. They changed their diet, but they're not seeing results. What would you say is a main problem there?
They're saying these things now. We have to honestly act and be true to ourselves. Are we eating as clean as we say we're actually eating? Are we staying away from these refined carbohydrates, white bread, white rice, granulated sugars? Are we having too much oil or butter in our food, or just settling for the huge, large, too great a portion than your body is supposed to have? And I mean, if your answer is yes, then this can come down to a problem of having a hormone imbalance, as your ability and able to lose the weight that you want. And this may require a little more in-depth study from a highly specified professional. But if it's not the case and you're able to make the adjustment dietarily by being a little more specified, staying away from sugary drinks, staying away from the sugars and the waters and the cheese, this may be a factor as well. Some of the dairy, you can definitely achieve it that way, but being very selective and truthful about what it is you're ingesting.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's the number one thing: being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
If you're telling a personal trainer, yeah, I eat good, I eat clean, but
deep down
yeah,
inside,
exactly, that what you're eating could be better. Obviously, could be better. That's where the results come from. So now, people say they don't have time to train. They're like, oh man, I come from work, blah blah blah. I don't have the time. What is the minimum amount of time that someone would need to see a decent amount of results? Obviously, the goal should be long term. So time shouldn't really be a factor per se. But what is the minimum, let's say, minimum time that you would need?
In the calisthenics game, because the vigorousness of some of the exercises, all you need is 15 minutes, 8 to 15 minutes. Particular exercises for building strength, and yes, you'll see progress.
So that's simple as that.
Simple as that. Now, the excuse if I don't have time, we get 100, we all get 24 hours in a day. We get 168 hours in a week, Obviously, 60 minutes, 30 minutes is a little more valuable for some of us than others, but to not be able to find time, it comes down to amount of desire that you have, to want to improve yourself. Now, if this is really something that you want to do and be good at, you'll find the time. You'll find that hour. You'll find those minutes to put the little workouts in to help yourself gain these abilities that you say you want to have.
That's it. I agree 100%. Now let's talk about diet. As they have these all types of crazy diets. The Atkins diet, paleo. What is your take on diets? What do you think about them?
I'm not big on the flash flood diets and all these crazy gimmick diets. Natural whole foods, basic eating. Natural whole foods, you want more protein in your diet, which will help to stimulate lean muscle mass growth. So you want more protein, you want a good carb complex, you want sweet potato, you want asparagus, you want broccoli, you want spinach, so forth. Grains, you want some brown rice, but 3/4 of a cup, maybe a cup at most. Salad, definitely. Staying away from the heavy dressings. These dressings with all these preservatives in it. Going with a light, small dip of olive oil and a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette that goes a long way to keeping a lot of the heavier calorie associated dressings that you see. So on a whole, you should just have protein, vegetable, and carbs, and you'll be fine in terms of weight loss, being mindfully approach your portion amounts. So, for instance, a medium-sized sweet potato, rather than having, 2 huge ones with butter in it, you just have a sweet potato, baked sweet potato. You can have a cup of brown rice, steamed brown rice. That's it. No butter, none of that extra heavy salt condiment in it. You'll have your lean meat, if it's a steak or if it's a grilled chicken breast. Make sure you have enough protein in the amount of in your portion amount. For instance, 8 to 10 ounces. If you're looking to keep some lean mass on you and even put on a little bit, you want about 8 to 10 ounces of meat in your diet, per meal. And this is all scientific. So it's not like, this is off the top that just works for me. This is in literature. This is in a lot of the nutritional specification I had to take. It's in the books. It's in the literature. So this is science at the end of the day. And it works if applied correctly.
There you go. So now let's talk. Not everyone wants to lose weight. Let's say somebody like the ectomorph body type. What would be one of the steps that they can take to put on some, extra muscle mass?
You want to increase your caloric intake coupled with exercise. So, you want to have that additional protein shake at the end of the day. If you're taking in 8 ounces of meat at, lunch and dinner, you want to be taking in 11 ounces of meat at lunch and dinner. If you're having 6 egg whites at breakfast, you want to start having 8 to 10 egg whites at breakfast. You need to increase the amount of calories that your body ingests. And while you perform exercise, your body will begin to grow larger muscle to compensate for this influx of calories that you're taking in.
So should there be like a time frame? Obviously, once again, it comes down to the type of person. But should there be a time frame that they look between, okay, I started upping my calorie intake until they get to where they want to be? Is there like a set time?
Well, it's a goal. So you want to, in terms of a yearly progress, you want to look at it in quarters. So every 3 to 4 months, how many pounds did you want to try to gain? About a pound, maybe 2 pounds in a month to 3 months. I mean, a 3 to 4 months time. So if your goal over time is, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle in within the year, 6 months in, we want to be at 5 pounds. 3 months in, we want to be at 2.5 pounds. So every quarter, you should be looking to gain 2.5 pounds of weight towards your goal of 10 pounds at the end of the year.
That's very good insight there. So because there, like I said, not everyone wants to lose weight, and a lot of the times we focus on weight loss. Is there a specific type of exercise style that they should focus on when putting on extra?
Yes, the heavy lifting, the exercises in calisthenics that you can only get 3 to 8 repetitions out of, or even 5 repetitions out of. This is the harder exercise, which require a greater usage of muscle fiber and recruitment to perform an exercise. So handstand push-ups. If you're doing handstand push-ups already on the wall and you can do 5 to 8 reps with your head touching the floor, tucked elbows, how do you get to the next level? You get the parallel press. This is going to increase the range of motion which you travel. From there, can you do 8 reps, 5 sets? If you can do that, you go back to the floor press and you put a weight vest on. 10 pounds, 20 pounds, do your wall push-ups again. Can you hit 8s? If you can, with the 20-pound weight vest, you go to the parallel press. Can you hold yourself in that air with that 20-pound parallel vest and knock out those reps? That increased stress progressively is going to build the size and the strength needed to perform the exercise over time and to get the size we're looking for over time.
Yep. So the thing to focus on is the high, stress.
High intensity, high stress level. You're only going to be able to get 2 reps, maybe 5, 6 reps of good form, good technique on these exercises. Those are the ones that are going to lead to massive strength gain, massive size gain.
So now let's move back to beginners now. Obviously it's for beginners, but being more specific with what action they can take. What are some questions that a beginner should ask himself before getting started?
What are my goals? What do I want to achieve? I like calisthenics, but what is it that you want to do? Are you trying to achieve 2 times body weight press? Are you trying to achieve a 2-time body weight pull-up or body weight dip? Or do you want to do handstand push-ups or whatever? You have to really identify what your goals are first and then work toward those goals. So for beginners, a beginner is really working towards, having good push-ups, working towards having good dips, working towards having good pull-ups. As a beginner, you should be able to build up to being able to do regular pull-ups with the hands forward, 3 sets of about 10 to 15 reps, good form, chin above the bar. A lot of guys you'll see pull with the nose to the bar. That's a pull-up, but it's not a high-quality, high level of strength pull-up. When you're dealing with the elite calisthenics in this game here that are pulling the bar to the neck and even down to the shoulder, this increased disadvantaged position of the arm requires greater strength production. So that's why we always pull to the chin above or even lower to force greater recruitment of muscle fiber for greater strength gains. So practicing that. Beginners, you need to work on your dips. Working up to being able to do 15 dips, 20 dips, 3 sets of 20, with a 2 to 3 minute rest in between. Working on decent push-ups. A lot of times you'll see the T push-up. The T push-up is a push-up in essence that allows you to train your chest, but it doesn't lead to greater strength because you're flaring the elbows. Anytime you flare the elbows, it makes the exercise progressively easier. So the way to get your stronger push-ups is to tuck these elbows in and perform your push-ups at the tucked elbow. This is where the greatest strength is built, moving closer inward down into the diamond push-up. That's why you see a lot of guys struggling with that.
Interesting. So,
and those are the basic exercises for beginners. It's the push-up to the diamond. If you can't do a hands-forward pull-up, you got to work the chin up first. Build your strength in the chin up, 10 reps, 15 reps before going hands forward in the pull-up. And working dips. Beginners aren't able to crank out, high level of dips. So we really want to build recognition, strength in this position, ascending, descending with good control and explosiveness on the top, locking out. A lot of times you'll see the inability to fully lock the arm out on a press, handstand push-up, a push-up regular and horizontal, or a dip. This is a lack of strength at the higher ranges, which require greater contraction to force the joint forward. Focus on that. That builds greater and stronger joint density and ligament strength, which is going to help later down the line with harder progressions, and it's going to save you from having tendinitis in these areas. This is going to build better strength. A lot of tendinitis comes from the lack of attention to locking out, where we give the joint some stress so it has to get stronger. If you stay just short of that, you keep the stress on the muscle, which is good, but the joint doesn't receive the lockout stress at that higher contraction that it needs to get strong and stay strong.
Interesting. So quality
over quantity.
There you go. So rest days are important. The actual building and strengthening of your muscles doesn't happen during the workout. That's just a stimulus for it.
Mm-hmm.
So resting is when the body repairs. How important is it to rest, and when should someone put their rest days? How would you set that up?
So rest days are very important. It allows your body to recover. It allows your body to super compensate. As you stress your body, there's a small window of recovery that's usually between 48 hours and on a maximum of 72 hours before you want to work out again. Now your body receives the stress, and 24 hours later it starts to recover. 48 hours later it reaches baseline again before it super compensates. If you skip that workout, your body loses that adaptation and it actually returns back to a lower level than from whence it started previously. And this is all science as well. In our next video, I'll have the exact cutout of the book and the page and chapter to show you the science behind this.
There you go. So that's what it comes down to for the resting period there.
You need at least 24 to 48 hours. Now, the younger you are, the less you'll need a rest, obviously. You may be able to recover within that 48-hour time period, but it's best to give your body that 24, 48 hours to allow for a sufficient amount of recovery to actively put new stress on the body and continue your ascension and progress.
So now let's say the worst happens, you get injured. What are some precautions, first of all, to not getting injured? And if you do, how would you be able to, bounce back from that?
Well, you can always bounce back from injury. Just to talk about a little bit about myself, during my professional career, I suffered 4 injuries, 2 surgeries to the left knee, 2 surgeries to my right knee. I had my meniscus operated on twice. The lateral external was taken out of my left knee. I blew it out of my right knee twice. This is all in the long of my 10-year span playing professional overseas. Each time after, I rose back to the same level, if not better, because it forced me to become a little more specific in my skill development. I may have lost a little athletically, the ability to explode more or to run faster on that first step, but I got better because I got smarter as I slowed the game up. I got better because my shot improved because I really focused on being more precise. So with that in mind, when you get injured, you have to take a step back and realize this injury came as a result of having an imbalance in the body. Maybe you injured a push muscle. Maybe those push muscles are a lot stronger than our pulling muscles. We see this a lot in the calisthenics game also. With bad posture, you'll see a fully rolled forward shoulder girdle. This right here tells me that there's so much horizontal pushing going on, more so than pulling, which helps to balance out the body. So now if you got guys who are consistently rolled forward, this is known as upper cross syndrome. And these are an excessive tightening of your pectoral muscles, your majors, your minors, your anterior delts, which are all rolling in forward because of the excessive contracting force you place on horizontal pushing. You need to start balancing out the structure to give more erectness to your spine by focusing on more horizontal pulling patterns, body weight rows, horizontal pulling like Australian pull-ups and so forth, in more higher numbers to create this balance. That's what usually happens with the injury. If you get injured on a pull-up, your pulling is a lot stronger than the pressing aspect. So you need to find balance and really work during the time that you're down on the weakness. Regress the exercise. First of all, stay away from exercise maybe for about a week or so to allow just your body to heal, and that little inflammatory process that it goes through is actually beneficial for it as it's bringing in, new blood cells to help heal the area. But once you gain some decent motion back, you want to start with flexibility and mobility. You want to start gaining flexibility back in the arm and the muscles so you can move through a range of motion comfortably. And you're going to be limited at first because of this tear in the muscle or whatever, sort of injury you had. The body starts to heal itself by getting tighter, so you're going to take some time really breaking that up to gain back that lost range of motion you may have had. And it's going to take time for you to start from the very beginning, going back through the easier progressions and building strength again. You want to build strength safely and soundly. Don't just jump into those high progressions. They're going to come, but you want to focus on the lower level progression with better form, better technique to build better strength to help you along that recovery process.
Wow, that makes sense now that you break it down like that. And I agree there, because sometimes we think the injury is fixed and whatnot, and we go back and do the same thing.
Yeah, you don't want to
caused
go
injury.
right back in. You've gotten hit up, you're injured. You don't want to jump right back into the race, into the third lane. You got to start off in the slow lane, get your feet wet again. All right, let me start stepping over to harder exercise. Do I have the strength to get here again? Because you got to remember, in that time of injury, you took time off. So you weren't exercising. So all these other harder exercises you were doing, you may have lost a little bit of strength because the body is actually taking more of its energy from that area to heal the area that's injured. So now those other areas are actually at lower levels, lower functioning levels than they were before. And if you go right back in, even though you're feeling good, you're putting yourself under higher stress than your body may be able to handle at the moment. And again, at risk for another injury. Let's be smart. Let's not work harder, but work smarter.
Especially, and that's why focusing on the time it shouldn't be a big deal, because when you're working smarter, you that it's a long-term goal that you're working towards, and time, it shouldn't be, oh, how quickly can I get this, it's how good I can get it, so I agree, work smart. If you're gonna work hard, work smart,
Hard
in
and
a smart way. There you go. So just wrapping up now, action, because obviously it comes down to action, taking action. What are some, if you have 3 action steps that you give someone getting started right now, what would you tell them to do?
A beginner, so I want you to do 3 sets of 10 chin-ups. So if you can't do 3 sets of 10, you have to first assess your ability. So the first set you do is going to be a way for you to tell, am I ready for the next level pull-up, or am I going to stay here at this level to build strength? So if you can do 10 pull-ups on the first set, let's see if you can do 3 sets of 10. If you are below 10 pull-ups and you can do, on the first set 8, second set 5, second set 4, then you have to work and stay in that chin-up range until you can do 3 sets of 10. We're going to give you a beginner program real quick. Chin-ups, I want you doing 3 sets of 4 reps. You got a 1-second pause at the top. Touch the bottom at straight arm, pull again, 1 count at the top. 3 sets, 3 reps, 2-minute break in between, or no, 1.5-minute break in between. Every week you add on 1 repetition every set. So next week it's going to be 3 times that week. You're going to do 3 sets of 4 reps. Then you're going to do week after 3 sets of 5 reps. Week after 3 sets of 6 reps. That 4th week we're going to back off and we're going to do 3 sets of 2 reps. That's going to be recovery week. We're going to give the body less stress so it recovers and we can see these adaptations. Week 5, that was week 4. Week 5 we go right back in. We're going 4 reps. 4 sets of 5 reps. Week 7, 4 reps. No, we go 4 sets at 6 reps. 4 sets at 7 reps. And we're going to build and add on, like I said, that 1 rep every week until we hit the goal. This gives us a time frame of about 2 to 3 months to be able to add on, 5 pull-ups per set to hit the goal of 3 at the end of about 3 months' time.
So obviously you're going to want to follow this. You want to get a notebook, whatever.
Get a notebook pad, write it down. Every time you set foot to the bar, Monday, 3 o'clock, I did 3 sets, 3 reps. Damn, I could only do 3 reps. And in the first set I did 3, second set I did 3, third set I did 2. I took a quick break and did a +1 because I needed to get that 3rd rep out. Next time I go in, on the 12th, I write down, I stepped in and did 3 sets, 3 clean reps, 3 sets, no breaks, bet. And so forth. And
write those notes.
Write the notes. Write the days you did it and the exercise that you were able to achieve. So that way, looking back on it, wow, I was at this level at this date. Going forward, I'm at this level. Wow, these are the steps that I took. These are the reps that it took me to get there. And it's a way for you to quantifiably have progress. Like you can actually see it written down and the steps you took, as opposed to just saying, I did this and that. Like here it is, specified, specific, like we talk about, focused, like we talk about, consistent, like we talk about definitely in the calisthenics game.
Definitely consistent. And that's, I think, one of the biggest parts is being consistent, with the action. So wrapping up here, where can people find you? Where can people get in contact and find out how to, connect with you and learn more?
Connect with me on, I'm at Reef NYC on Instagram. You can shout me out on any one of my little posts there. I'm also on Facebook, Sharif Fajardo, SHARIF FAJARDO. You can also hit me up at Bio Strength Method, BIOSTRENGTH, method, METHOD, @gmail.com. I respond to all emails, so any inquiries on workshops and workouts, you can hit me up. I'm very specific, very specified. I'm down in Chelsea area as well, as I train at one of the equinoxes. So I do a lot of calisthenic training. I'm helping people reach their goals, and I'll definitely help you reach yours.
Sounds good. So we're going to demonstrate some practical action right now that you guys can take, and he's going to demonstrate that for us. So let's get it going.
Let's do it.
Thank you once again.
All day.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Greater strength. One way to do a harder push-up, like I said, is to tuck the elbow. So if you're unable